It's Rob!
Tony! And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you.
Hello gamers and welcome back to the Inn. I'm Warshak, your Hearthstone host. Nah, that's too professional. Hey guys, what's going on? Rob, if you want to call me that. Warshak about my in-game name, that's fine as well. So today we're going to be knocking out some Hybrid Mech Shaman. I know we're all used to the standard Mech Shaman. It's got like a huge burst potential. It lays out a whole bunch of creatures at one time, and then it runs out of steam. So I was like, why does it have to run out of steam? So I've kind of built this deck to start off high impact, maintain high impact, and finish off with high impact instead of, you know, ramping and then just dying. It kind of, you know, stays decent the entire time, which is nice. So, off the bat, we have two nice 3-drops. We're going to be able to coin into one of those nice 3-drops off the bat. Dr. Boom's a bit early, and it looks like we're going against a Mech Mage, which is funny because we're playing Mech Shaman. Well, Hybrid Mech Shaman. He doesn't know that yet. So, this game does have a lot of early game, like I said. It has decent mid game, and it also has some end game. The end game obviously isn't as strong as, let's say, mid-range Shaman or mid-range Druid because they don't have as strong as a start as this, but this does, you know, it curves out nicely. It looks like a half moon if you look at it. So, obviously going to play the Spider Tank here. The next turn, I feel like Totemic is a decent play. Depending on what he plays, maybe a Noyotron and Earth Shocking, whatever he brings out. So he's going to... Okay, Unstable Portal brought him a giant turtle. And he still has no mechs, so his Cogmasters really don't do a ton of work to me right now, which is fine. This weapon, though, is a pretty nice draw for us, because we're going to be able to kill one of the Cogmasters, kill the other Cogmasters with our Spiders, so we're able to kill 2 creatures with relatively... We didn't lose anything so far, and then if he does, when our weapon durability does run out, we'll be able to throw that on the Noyotron if he ends up killing the Spider Tank, and if he doesn't, we'll end up playing Totemic and probably, yeah, probably just Totemic. Okay, so with our weapon now, we're going to swing into the... Well, we swing into the Oasis. It brings it down to 4. It's going to buff our Spider Tank, making it a 5/5. Then we can kill off the Oasis. And then from here, we can probably... We either summon the Totemic or a Noyotron into a Totem. But if he has a mech on the field, then he also gets mech ability. So using our... Let's see what we get out of our Totem. And we'll kill his mech because he could Blast Mage. Yeah, killing his mechs off. Just... Yeah, because when you're going against a Mech Mage, there's a lot of cards in a mech deck that are synergizing with having a mech, whether it be Tinkertown, Blast Mage, Cogmaster, which we already got rid of those, but Blast Mage is still an issue, and that could definitely change games if all the things go out right. And then obviously throwing the Noyotron out forced him to kill that prior to killing our Spider Tank. Okay, so... We have to deal with a Mech Warper and a Turtle. So we could play Totem or we can Lightning Storm, and it would clear both of them, but then we'd be locked down. But I think that's fine. I think that's fine. And then our Healing Totem's going to be able to heal our Spider Tank. So our Chain Lightning, killing 2 creatures for the price of only 1 card. We're locked down next turn, so we only have 4 mana to deal with, but 4 mana is enough for a Totemic and an Earthshock, or a Totemic and a Rockbiter, depending on what we draw, or even another Chain Lightning if he wants to bring out his whole field. So it looks like the Fel Reaver is his choice. From here, a Hex would be nice. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, awesome. So, let's have him burn some cards. Oh, actually, we could not even have to use Hex. We could swing our Spider Tank into the Fel Reaver, but that'd be silly. And then we're going to Hex the Fel Reaver. So he's going to mill 6 cards. And all of these 6 cards have seemed pretty decent. Paladin, Sky Golem, Loatheb. Mana Worm's not really that big of a deal, and I wasn't paying attention before that. But this seemed like some pretty good, decent cards were milled, especially Sky Golem, which is pretty annoying to get rid of. So he's going to Fireball the Spider Tank, which is awesome. Him wasting a Fireball on a 3-drop. And then from here, I don't see a reason why not to play Dr. Boom. The card's just fantastic. There's no other 7-drop. I mean, there's nothing in our hand that would be even close to the value of Dr. Boom. So obviously that would be... Dr. Boom on turn 7 can't go wrong. So the only really big weakness Dr. Boom has is Big Game Hunter. And I don't think this Mech Mage runs that. The standard Mech Mage doesn't, that is.
You win.
So he can Samidad. So that worked out pretty well. It didn't look like he had a fantastic start. I mean, 2 Cogmasters is nice, and the Unstable Portal gave him a decent, like, I mean, a 2/7 on turn, what did he play, that 1 or 2? So, I mean, it wasn't terrible, and then he had the Spider Tank if the Cogmasters would have lived. The only thing he didn't really have there was, I guess, the Blast Mage and some Frost Bolts to clear field. But at that point, you just have a perfect hand, and it's hard to, you know, it's hard to beat anybody when they have the perfect hand. Like, you know those games where you just draw into everything you need, and it's just like, it's not even fair to your opponent. But that's just what it comes with playing, you know, a card game. You just get some of the, it's like having Exodia. It's like, what the fuck are you gonna do? So we're gonna keep the we are gonna keep the Rockbiter weapon because the potential to be able to deal 3 damage for 1 mana, not deal 3 damage, but you know, have 3 damage to put on a creature or a face. Most of the time it's a creature, but it's always nice to have. Coining out, I see 2 Mech Warpers in our hand, which is really nice. So we could actually coin out one of the Mech Warpers the following turn, another Mech Warper, and then our mechs would cost 2 less, making it so we could play Piloted Sky Golem on turn 4, or we could play if we draw into like a Piloted Shredder, we could play that on turn 2. Our Spider Tank on turn 1, or I mean with 1 mana. So we're obviously going to coin out 1 Mech Warper. Hopefully it lives. If it does, then we're going to be able to play the other Mech Warper, and then a Spider Tank, and if we draw it to a 2-drop mech or less, it'll also be free, which I'm obviously going to play. So our worst case right now is if he has a Rockbiter weapon, and then he kills our Mech Warper. So he plays a Haunted Creeper. So it looks like he might be playing mid-range Shaman, so we'll play kind of against that. So we're going to Mech Warper, and then we're going to play a Spider Tank for 1 mana, and we're going to go face. There's no point to really pop the Spider. I mean, I guess he could possibly have a Knife Juggler, or, yeah, that'd be like probably the worst case scenario is like a Knife Juggler. But even with that, I mean, it would only ping for 2, and the 2 damage hitting the same creature twice is highly unlikely in this situation. Then we would use our Rockbiter to kill off the Knife Juggler, and then play the Spider Tank. So he's gonna Rockbiter weapon probably his face. Yeah. No, he's gonna hit the Spider to kill the Spider Tank. Okay. He used it on the Spider to kill the Spider Tank. That's funny. So it's either play the Spider Tank or the Totemic. I think the Spider Tank's a greater value because we're gonna be able to use our Totem as well. The Totemic never gets discounted due to the Mech Warpers, but the Spider Tank does. And then we're going to kill off obviously his 1/1 spiders. Because we could have done 4 damage to face, or we can kill off 1/1 spiders that he could potentially put a Flame Tongue Totem in between because he is playing Shaman, and I can only assume he's playing mid-range. Oh, there's the Flame Tongue Totem, so there we go. So that was a good call on our behalf. That would have definitely not been nice if he would have used that on each of those spiders to kill off one of our Mech Warpers and get the other one low, and then the egg would have been able to kill one as well. So hopefully at least one of our Mech Warpers can live 1 more turn so we can play a Piloted Sky Golem early. Okay, Totemic didn't give us something great. We're going to kill off the Flame Tongue. We are going to buff up the Mech Warper and kill off this 4/4. I wish it was going to live, but there's really no way. I guess we could have gone face there since we knew his Spider would have attacked a creature anyway, but then it would have healed back up due to his Healing Totem and made it that much worse to deal with. So I think just getting rid of it now wasn't a terrible idea. Just so he has nothing on the field. Like right now, I've got 4 cards on the field comparative to his 1. He's got 4 cards in hand. Oh, never mind. He's a Totemic that's going to create another one. All right. Okay, I thought that was a mana tide for a second. I was about to get a little bit disappointed. And so hopefully we can draw into a... that's not so great. So it looks like we're just going to passive, and we're going to start playing Piloted Sky Golem next turn. So hopefully he doesn't play anything too bulky. And then we're going to kill his Totemic off with the Earth Shock and probably kill his Spell Power Totem. Just because if he Chain Lightnings, it has the potential to wipe out the entire field. Not that it would kill the entire field anyway. So if we skip the Spell Power Totem, our whole field dies pretty much anyway. Because everything has below 2 health besides the Spider Tank, and it would have to deal the 4 health instead of the 3 if he Chain Lightnings, or Lightning Storm, I should say. I would think if he had Lightning Storm, he would have already used it. So the Spell Power Totem really doesn't make a huge difference. If he has an Earth Shock, I suppose it would kill our Totemic, but then he would passive and maybe get another Spell Power Totem anyway. But it forces him to passive, which means you can't play a creature that costs 6. Or 5, since Earth Shock costs 1. I think I'm overthinking this. Sorry guys, I think out loud. I think a little too much in these videos. But I just want you guys up. There's a Mana Tide Totem we were worried about. And there's the Lightning Storm we were also worried about. Holy smokes. He just completely turned that around. But it did not deal the 4 damage to the Spider Tank, which means we're going to be able to kill his Mana Tide Totem with our Spider Tank, then play a Piloted Shredder. And then he has no way... Piloted Sky Golem. Okay. Some people, all right, I'm gonna ask a question. So, in our comment section below, we have people. It's kind of split down the middle, to be honest. Of people who enjoy like the in-depth analyzation of each play and why I do it, and then potential drawbacks to those plays. And then there's people like, you talk too much, go over the basic shit, all that fucking analyzing each individual play and possibility is pointless. You just ramble on about bullshit. What do you guys think about that? I kind of, constructive criticism is always something I look for in all of our comments. And, you know, there's comments that say, oh, you suck or you talk too much. It's just like, okay, well, that is not helpful. I mean, I guess it's just not helpful because I can't learn off that. But if you get, hey, you could do better if you did, And that constructive criticism actually really helps me. Like one guy, he pointed out, hey man, you say too much. And I've been definitely working on the amount of times I say and I went back and watched my videos. And obviously we're gonna swing face here, and it's whether to earth shock this pouted shredder or not. But I went back in my videos, watched them, and I've seen improvements on that. So like that's a constructive criticism, Mark, that I can actually like. You gave me something I can work on. It's obvious, and yeah. So thank you. Sorry, little rant there. Okay, so back to the game. Sorry, I kind of playing and not explaining, which is the whole opposite. Fuck it. I'm back to the game. Play Hearthstone, Rob. That's what we're here for. Okay. So having 2 pouted Sky Golems on the field is definitely something he's going to have to deal with. If not, I mean, it's 12 damage, and then he's going to have to deal with the 4 drops after that. He is beating me in card advantage, though, but I have the potential to pump out a lot of damage, and I've got continuous shit he has to deal with. And this would be that whole purpose of the deck, that it doesn't burn out. Normally, the Mech Shaman doesn't have high creatures. It has high burst spells instead of these high creatures. But the problem with the high burst spells is that if your opponent heals, if you know they have to get a taunt through, or you have to get through a taunt, you're kind of wasting your only ability to finish a game on getting past targets instead of being able to push through them and create more, which is what Piloted Sky Golem does. Same thing with Windlord with Rockbiter Weapon, insane damage. Dr. Boom, Piloted Sky Golem, Lothab, so those are all really nice things. So it looks like he played Mana Tide. He's going to taunt up, so he obviously wants me to get through those before I hit that Mana Tide totem. I only have 2 creatures on the field, so a Chain Lightning would have been great there. But Dr. Boom is a really nice drop as well. Unfortunately, he's going to be able to, I guess attacking the healing totem was kind of pointless. I guess it would heal up to, it'd be a 1-2 instead of the 1-3 if I didn't attack. But then it would save my guy from taking 1 damage. But I don't think that matters too much. But yeah, the Mana Tide totem definitely has to die. That's just one of those cards, like a Northshire Cleric. You just need to kill it. Ugh. Exciting news while this guy finishes his play. I'm almost done with this, my second to last semester as a senior in college. This semester has been pretty fucking hard. I don't know, how many of our viewers or people viewing me go to college or have been in college or are in college. But definitely, like, people say the hardest year is junior. I think the hardest year is senior, because all the professors are like, oh, you're on your way out, which means you need to be ready for the work world. Here you go. Here's a fuck ton of work. We know we know you work, and we know you're interns, and we know you're taking 5 classes, and we know you have other classes that require you to do a massive amount of work. But our class, you see, our class is the best class. So here's a fuck ton of work. Yay, have fun. Fuck those guys. But anyway, yeah, it's going almost done. Pretty excited about it. Have one more semester past this, and then I will be a full-blown adult that plays Hearthstone. So, Lothab stops me from casting spells. Good thing I have no spells that really matter in this deck besides Lightning Storm. Going to kill off his healing totem. Obviously, gonna have to kill off that Mana Tide totem, but first we gotta kill off the Lothab. Unfortunately, he silenced our shit. So hopefully these bombs kill off the Mana Tide. It did not. Let's try again. Kill off the Mana Tide. Thank you. Alright, swing for 7, play a Shredder, play the Whirling, and passive in and turn. So hopefully this is going to finish it off here. I really don't see any sort of comeback. I mean, he does have 10 mana, so there's a lot of potential moves he could play. I mean, even Windlord, you take out this, take out the Shredder, still take 7, still take... It would take... And what is that card? It would take... like an Azure Drake, Elemental Destruction, or a passive into Elemental Destruction to deal like 6 damage. What is it, 4 to 5, or is it 5 to 6? Yeah, I didn't see anything coming from there. All right, so that's game number 2. Oh yeah, I didn't even state this. For all of you who are new to the channel or aren't familiar with some of our deck guides, we play 3 ranked games and we win all 3. Well, hopefully win all 3. So we're gonna head into our 3rd ranked game here. Obviously, if you're seeing this, we won it. And if you're not, then boo-hoo. I hate when I win 2 games and then I lose the 3rd game, and it's even worse is when, like, the 3rd game he top decks, like something insane, like a Hell Scream or like a Fireball when I have lethal on the board next turn. It's just terrible. Never lucky. Okay, so we're playing against a Druid. Ramp Druid's been very popular, but so has the Rush Druid. So surprisingly, I've actually seen a lot more Rush Druid than normal Druid. The normal ramp or mid-range Druid. In this opening hand, again, 2 Mech Warpers. We've been getting pretty lucky with these opening hands, to be completely honest. Normally, you at least get like a 4 or 5 drop in there mixed in, but you can't really complain with this. So it's either coin out the Mech Warper and then play the second one the following turn, or just throw out the Cogmaster. And I think the Cogmaster is a little bit better play here, because if he plays like a Darnassus Aspirant right now, we'll be able to deal with it right away. As if we played the Mech Warper, we're more so having to deal with making sure we rock bite our weapon in. So obviously Mech Warper, and then to coin out the other Mech Warper, or the Annoyotron. And I think playing the Mech Warper into Annoyotron is much better than just playing the Annoyotron. That would have been retarded. So this is an insane opener. The only thing I could the only thing better than this is drawing into like next turn. Yeah, probably like a Spider Tank would be like still good, but a Piloted Shredder would be insane. And then on turn 5 drawing, okay, so Totemic's good as well. Drawing into the 3-drop, even though it's not discounted, it's still great. Let's see if it gives me a Flame Tongue or a Mana Tide. It gives me spell power. We go face because we can't attack invisible creatures. And we got him down to 19 health already. This is looking like Mech Shaman to him. And I don't know, when people see this deck, they obviously play as if it's Mech Shaman, and then they play around being bursted down by spells, but that never happens because there is no burst spells in this deck. So it kind of jukes them out in a way that first they see Shaman, so they don't know if you're playing mid-range or Mech. Then they see Mech, so they're like, all right, rush Mech. And then you throw out, like, you know, Piloted Sky Golems, Dr. Boom, Wind Lord. They're just like, holy shit, what the fuck am I going against? So a lot of these decks of mine, you see, they're like, there's mainstream decks in there, but they're tweaked in a way that they're not, you know, copy paste off the internet. There's small changes in them that makes it a little bit diverse, so when you're playing your opponent, they can't guess, you know, your next play. Because if you play some of these cookie cutter, you know, Dragon Priest decks, you can just about call out every single turn they do. It's really just ugh. Can never play a deck like that. So killing off a Shade of Naxxramas, swinging for 1, swinging for 3, and ending our turn. So we got him to 15 health on turn 5. Not bad. We have the Hex in our hand in case he plays a taunt that we need to get past. Like, so turn 5, Druid of the Claw is always a card you can expect. The 4/6 with taunt. I doubt he's going to turn into a 4/4 with charge. Also, a Sledge Belcher is an option for a Druid. Our coining into the Emperor, but since we went second, we got the coin. So I really don't see him playing, obviously, a 6-drop. Or he could innervate out a Keeper. Ooh, our Fel Reaver. Okie dokie, so obviously we're going to get Totem, and then we're going to use our Hex, killing off that. We're going to use our 1-drop to kill the Taunt. We're going to see what we milled. We milled a Grove, an Aspirant, and a Leper, so that's not really that great. We're looking, when you're playing against a Rush Druid, and they play a Fel Reaver, or any deck that plays a Fel Reaver, you want to get rid of some of the key cards, like Savage Roar, Force of Nature, Dr. Boom. I would say Innervate, but that's not really that important. Swipe's a pretty important card because you just, you know, practically cleared half my field with it. Spider Tank's nice here, obviously passive. Hopefully it gives me a taunt. Healing Totem works. It's going to heal up my Cogmaster and my Spell Power Totem, so it can't be passive down. So that was actually nice at the Healing Totem. Thank you, Healing Totem. And then next turn we're going to Wind Lord, which is fantastic. So he's going to be able to do 8 damage with that. Or no, he's a 5. He's a 3/5. My bad. He's not a 4/5. I wish. When I first saw Windlord, I just thought he was terrible. Like, you could not give me enough gold to craft him, or dust to craft him. And I was just like, ugh. But now, I've respected him. So, we can't play Windlord next turn, or this turn I lied. So we're just going to use our weapon, probably just go face. I don't see a reason not to, unless he plays a taunt, which would be kind of devastating. But I think we got it from here. And then we can Lightning Storm, or we can just passive. Lightning Storm, I think, is a little bit better here because it takes out the bombs. They have a greater chance to hit targets that he doesn't want to hit. See, so he killed a Healing Totem, which he probably never would have attacked. And he killed one damage to the Cogmaster, really doesn't matter. So from here, if he uses his passive to kill the Cogmaster, he dies. Yeah, he has 2 creatures he has to deal with, and he only has 1 creature on the field to deal with it, and that's why he can Tommy Dot it. Okay, so now that we got our 3 wins in a row with this deck, I suppose we'll talk about each individual card. In the last video I did, what video was that? My Burn Priest. I completely forgot at the end of it to talk about the cards and, you know, a little bit of the combos that revolve around them. So, my apologies on that. I'll try to... I like ended the video and I was like, man, that was a lot quicker than normal. And then I was like, fuck, I forgot. So we'll talk about that a little bit here. Let me move the deck list over so I can see it real quick. Okay, so we have Earth Shock. This I shouldn't really have to explain why this is good. I always run 2 of these in all my Shaman decks. It's the Iron Beak Owl without having to play Iron Beak Owl, and it's the fact that it's only a 1-drop. It deals damage. So like, let's say you're playing against there's a lot of paladins running around. So let's say they Blessings of the King, one of their Silverhand recruits. If you actually Earth Shock it, the Silverhand recruit will die because it silences the card, which makes it to a 1/1, and then the Earth Shock deals 1 damage. So just keep in mind, it also works on Haunted Creeper, Leopard Gnome. So there's, I think Earthshock is just one of those cards that you can't. It's just so fantastic in so many ways against so many other classes that you go against. Very popular classes right now, like the Paladin with a lot of buffs. So I think that's why it's fantastic, and that's why I run it. So the Rockbiter weapon, that is fantastic as well. It works good if you're pumping out a huge amount of damage with Windlord, so you turn it into a 3. No, it's normally a 3/5, but you can turn it into a 6/5 that attacks twice. That's a 12 damage burst for 9 mana. That is a little bit expensive, but it's a burst you'll end up doing a lot. The same thing with Doomhammer. It turns into a 5/8 that can 5/8 being the durability of it, that it can attack twice. That's 10 damage with that. So not only Rockbaiter can use on debuff your weapon or a creature that can attack twice, it can also be used on yourself, on a creature, to make favorable trades. So Rockbaiter is fantastic. Cogmaster and Annoyotron and Mech Warper, I'm gonna group these together because you'll find these in your very standard mech decks. Cogmaster, Annoyotron, Mech Warper, and Whirling Zap-O-Matic. Normally each kind of class has a mech card with it that only works with that class. Blast Mage, being the mage's mech card, and then Whirling Zap-O-Matic is kind of the shaman's card along with the Power Mace. So each class kind of has its favorable, mech abilities. Power Mace to me is just a fantastic weapon. It's a 3-drop, so it's more expensive than the War Axe for a warrior, but its Death Rattle gives one of your random mechs +2/+2. So even if they do somehow destroy it, or it runs out of its durability, it still gets value after its death, or after its use. Which is really nice. So just make sure you have a mech on the field. And then also with Power Mace, I've seen a couple people make the mistake of, let's say you've got a mech on the field that you plan to attack with and you want to give the buff with. So they'll play another mech, and then they'll get rid of their weapon, and then the weapon buff will go to the creature they just played, and they won't be able to attack utilizing that +2/+2 right away. So just keep in mind, you don't get to pick this +2/+2, so just make sure you kind of, have the creature you want to buff on the field. But I mean, if there's 2 creatures and it just randomly has to pick the one you want, that's an unfortunate circumstance, but kind of just pay attention. Make sure you use your weapon durability prior to playing a card, if that's what you're looking for. Running 2 hexes. The reason why I'm running 2 hexes instead of 1 is because there's no big game hunter in this deck. The Shaman, this deck does kind of fall short when going against some of those larger creatures. So let's say they play a Fel Reaver, which you'll see a lot of, Dr. Boom, Tyrion. So we've got hexes to deal with them, and we don't run big game hunter because on the early game, drawing it, in turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 is just, you don't get to use it until, like, let's say turn 6 or later, and then by then with this deck, you should be pushing a decent amount of creatures on the field and pushing that win shortly after, Like, you're aiming to win between turn 4 and 6, but if, the game goes longer to, like, turn 6 to turn 10, this deck can handle it, but it's not, I mean, a big game hunter is going to change the match that much. It probably wasn't a good match to win anyway. Also, I mean, if you feel like Big Game Hunter, you need it in this deck because of how many Fel Reavers are out there, which is understandable. I guess a card you could cut would be either maybe a Lightning Storm or possibly an Earth Shock or the Windlord. It's up to you. Like, let's say you don't have the Windlord, it's a legendary, it's expensive, and you just kind of, want a cheaper card that you already have that'll still be effective. Change the Windlord for BGH. You don't have Dr. Boom, you don't have 2 Piloted Sky Golems, change one of those for BGH. You can make subtle changes like this. They won't change the entire deck format or the entire deck dynamic, but yeah, it should work out for you. Heading to Lightning, yes. Heading to Lightning Storm, running 2 of these. There's a lot of aggro decks out right now. I mean, we kind of slowed down with the aggressive decks when TGT came out, and now they're starting to return. I wouldn't even say starting, they're just being more, I don't know, more people seem to be playing the fucking Rush Druid. Rush Hunter's been a thing. And there's one more rush class, Rush Paladin. I don't know why that's back, but I've been seeing a lot of that. So yeah, I threw in another Lightning Storm. That's why I have 2 Lightning Storms, very effective. And then also make sure if you're looking to get that extra spell power in your Lightning Storm, use your passive before using it, because it's just, yeah, I always laugh when I go against a shaman and he'll Lightning Storm and then use his passive and get a spell power totem, and then the creature on the field on my side lived with 1 health, and it would have died if he just, you know, used his passive sooner. So there you go. I said fuck. Okay, so Spider Tank, this is just a mech, obviously you want to play. The totemics are interesting because they don't really fit the mech stereotype of this deck, but they're just too good not to put in. I mean, if you play, let's say it's turn 2, you coin out a totemic, so you played a 3-2 on turn 2, and it summons a totem golem, that's insane. That's a 3-4 and a 3-2 on turn 2, or it summons a flame tongue, or a vitality, or a mana tide. I mean, it's just so many games can be changed early on just because of this. So let's say you don't get a good early mech start, you can still get a fantastic start with totemic. So it's like a kind of a, you didn't get a mech start, here's a totemic, try again. And if you didn't get that, you're fucked. I'm just kidding, you're not fucked, but you know what I mean. It adds another kind of way to do well early on in this deck. 2 Piloted Shredders. I'm not going to explain why this card is absolutely broken. It's our one. It's like, we have actually just made a video on Piloted Shredder called the best gold card to get, and I'll throw that in the left-hand side annotation because I just think it's really important. It's a cool card to have, and if you're new to the game and you really can't afford a ton of legendaries and stuff, I mean, Piloted Sky Golem, or I mean, Piloted Shredders are going to go in almost like all of your decks, so you might as well, you know, get them gold, and it just looks cool, and all the cards that come out of them are gold. So in that video, I should explain it. The Doom Hammer, very nice card in my opinion. It does an astronomical amount of damage over a consecutive amount of turns, whether you're Rockbiter weaponing it or not. I mean, it has 8 charges to it, and that's insane. It does have an overload of 2, which is a little expensive, but you think about it, it only costs 5 up front, and there's only 2 5-drops in the deck. So you can kind of, most of the time, you're able to throw it out there if you don't have the Lotha. But remember, if you do have Piloted Sky Golem following the next turn, it may not be the best route to play the Doomhammer because then you have nothing to follow up with. I always find it's better to have creatures on board than a weapon on your hero. So just keep that in mind. The Piloted Sky Golem, 2 of these. People normally, if you're playing Mech Mage normally runs 1 of these. I run 2 just because, first of all, people don't really run silence anymore, and if they do, it's only 1 of them, and if they do have that silence, they're probably going to use it earlier on a Noyotron to stop the buff from Power Mace. They're going to throw it on, you know, their Piloted Shredder, because they really don't expect you to have some of these huge late game cards like Piloted Sky Golem. Dr. Boom, I'm not going to explain why this guy's absolutely broken. He's the best 7-drop in my opinion in the game, and if you don't have him, he's definitely one of the first legendaries you need to grab. And then Windlord, we've kind of been over this guy. If you don't have one of these cards, exchange it with a BGH. And if you have any other questions, leave it in the comment section below. Let me know what you have, let me know what you don't have, and I'll work with you to kind of fill in the deck the best we can. So with all of that, I appreciate you guys hanging by the end, watching my videos, and of course supporting the channel. With all of this said, thank you for stopping by the end, everybody. I'm Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.